I'm John Sicotte. Welcome to another edition of the Brewer Magazine podcast. We are sponsored by Keg Logistics. You can check that out at keglogistics.com/brewermag. And of course, you can find the Brewer Mag at brewermag.com. Got our podcast. You can like and subscribe both on YouTube and also on Spotify. And Craft Brewers Conference 2025 is just about to get underway in Indianapolis. And a better way than having a beer, being able to cheers it with Courtney and Derek. Thanks, guys, from Guggman Haus in northwest of Indianapolis, and it's the Boyle Racing headquarters at one point. Just a quick introduction about this space, if for people that didn't get to CBC and get a chance to be able to see it, because this is one of my favorite places to come when I come to Indianapolis.
Yeah. So the space we're in right now in the 30s and 40s, it was home to the Boyle Racing team. So we're actually sitting in the Boyle Racing garage right now, which is a room right off our main tap room that pays tribute to the legacy of the Boyle Racing team. So we have original walls. Those are really the only two original things standing, but we moved into this space a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and it really, now you guys have always been on this space, right? Because like the house behind me was the original location. This was here. Was it a plan to always, okay, we're going to do that? I know you guys have, worked with some people to, get this thing going and keep the legacy of the race car stuff alive as well.
Sure. We had blueprints for this space before we even considered the house. So this was taking so long from many different angles. It's a very large space. So we switched focus back in 2016, 17, 18 to just get the house renovated. And we opened and brewed in the house for 2 years.
Awesome. And how many years now open?
So it'll be 6 years this June.
In June. Yeah.
Awesome. The great thing I like, obviously, with the racing heritage, but the fact that how you guys have kind of built this out in the tap room, it's, I would say, a brew pub without being a brew pub, sit down restaurant. How, it's walk-up service to go get food. The food's amazing. German type of sausages and things like that. Why did you want to make it that way? And do you see that as an advantage versus a brew pub model where you kind of have way more overhead?
Yeah. We can.
Sure. I mean, one of the big things is our initial focus is always on the beer. And so for us, the best way to do that was, not to be a restaurant model, definitely, is more to be, hey, we're a tap room that also happens to serve food. That's kind of the idea. It wasn't, a restaurant that happens to serve beer, other way around.
Well, and really, like, from the beginning, the house portion of our name, Guggman Haus, it's like we wanted to create something that was an extension of our homes. And so that's what it feels like, a giant living room over here.
Yep.
And it's family friendly. We wanted something that was kind of missing here in Indy, was just a place that everybody can come, whether you're by yourself, with your family, meeting coworkers, and just have a place to hang out. So everything is at your leisure. You can order beer and NA from the bar or cider at your leisure. And then when you want food, you can go up to the window and we bring it out pretty quickly to you. So that was kind of the model from the beginning.
Is it a different, like, were you guys very different when you opened with that concept? Was there other places in the Indianapolis area that you guys maybe modeled after or saw, okay, this is working for them, I think this is the future? And it really has become that, where people want food to be able to come.
I think that it was always our vision. Like, we spent time in Germany, and around the same time, Abby and Ryan, my sister and our brother-in-law, spent time in Denver. And so coming back, we wanted to mirror the models that we saw in those two respective areas. And so that was really our vision. There's probably one and now two, like, similar, really maybe three similar places around here. But that was our vision from the beginning. The place that we wanted to go to with our kids.
Yeah.
Now, we don't come back with our kids all the time on the weekend because we're here during the week, but we wanted a place for people to be able to do that.
Yeah. That's where you see, the big beer garden out there, the kind of communal tables, those are all influenced by, the different places that we lived.
And I guess talk about the overhead version of this too, because again, you don't have table service, so you don't have to worry about as many employees. Is that also, you feel an advantage? Do people like it? I mean, did they have to kind of learn it when they started coming here?
Yeah, I think it's probably new for some people, but otherwise I think people enjoy it because our perspective is we're not trying to turn tables. Like, you're not, being checked upon constantly of like, okay, here's your check, now it's time to go. It's our kind of motto we've adopted since having the coffee house is you could spend all day here. You could come and get coffee in the morning, come over for lunch and beers in the afternoon, and it could just be like your third place. So it works for us. I think as far as, kitchen is still, it's a high volume kitchen. So, staffing and probably an industry-wide, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, struggle, challenge, I guess, but we have a really good team in there right now. So.
And you mentioned the coffee house, which is in the former brewery,
Yeah.
which is a house, and it's great. The HAUS brew house, that's good marketing, good branding right there. What kind of motivated you guys to do that? To be able to, you're extending your hours basically. What made you want to do it, and did you see that as an opportunity to have something in this area because it wasn't there, or just something you had in your mind and you wanted to get there at some point?
I think it's those two things for sure. But then we were never open in the morning, but it's just sitting there. The house is sitting there. We use it for private events in the evening. So to be able to have kind of bring life, to really bring life to it in a other part of the day, it just made sense. And we love coffee. This business is fueled by coffee. So to be able to bring community around a different type of brew is what I like to say. It's worked out well, and it's kind of taken some time for it. There's not a lot of walking traffic around here, so for the word to spread. But I think especially having the biggest outdoor coffee garden, coffee or beer, depending on what you're drinking,
right?
It goes over really well, and it just meshes in with what we're trying to do, which is create that space that people can gather.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And you guys have slowly built, it's in 6 years you have gone from a house to a 20,000 foot square facility, to the fact that now in the last year you guys have opened a second tap room. Tell us about that and the journey that's there. Was that a plan? Was it something that just came up that you thought, okay, we can move forward with this? It's a good, across the bar sales are always going to be better than getting out in retail right now. So is that another thought process in there as well?
I feel like I'm talking a lot.
That's fine. Yeah, I can talk too. Yeah, I mean, it's always something that we want to explore.
Yeah.
And then the right opportunity came up for a space that already had basically a cooler set up and tap room kind of set up the way that we would want it. Obviously with some cosmetic changes that we did, and it happened to be also right in our neighborhood, which was perfect. So it's kind of the combination of all that was all right. Well, let's give this a try for the first time in this space. And it's been great.
Yeah. I think, like you said, we weren't looking. It's always been in our vision to have other tap rooms, and we were not necessarily looking last year because we already focused on opening the coffee house. But then it's less than a mile from our houses in our neighborhood. So
very nice.
It worked out. It's like that neighborhood pub feel. So it's a nice first step into a second location, being that it's in our neighborhood too.
Yeah, it's just a nice difference from the space where there's not, like she was saying, there's not a lot of walking traffic up to this spot, but that there definitely is. It's right in the middle of the neighborhood. It's just a little bit different feel.
What's the decor there then? Is it pretty much the same here? You guys have the same kind of feel?
We used our Great Day can label as the color on the wall. And so it's very similar in feeling. It's just about 50 seats though, so it's much, much smaller.
Intimate.
It's intimate. It has a small kitchen, some really delicious sandwiches, pretzels. It still has close to 20 beers on tap as well. So.
Well, and to have a second location means you need to brew more beer. And you've been through 3 systems in the 6 years. Obviously, you start with one, so you kind of have some time on was it a barrel and a half or 2 barrel system?
Well, so we started with, this is, I guess, basically our 4th one. So we had 2 1-barrel systems to start with.
Okay, yeah.
And those both got upgraded to 2-barrel systems while we were in the basement. And then we moved one of those over here, and we started in this building with a 5-barrel system, which, by the time we moved over here, we'd already outgrown it. But that's what we had, so we used it
for 3 years.
For 3 years.
Wow.
Well, yeah, 3 years, and then just this past fall, we put in a new 20-barrel system.
And what's the thought process behind it to be able to, okay, this is what I like to have, or I want new bells and whistles, because I know that you can't. What the bigger the systems, the more automation you can add. I mean, how has that kind of played into into that?
Yeah, so I was an engineer before all this, and so there's a lot of changes that we've made to our existing systems over time.
Yeah.
We've added flow meters and special valves and all this kind of stuff. And so by the time that we got ready to buy a new brew house, I knew what I wanted with my brew house. I want some bells and whistles. This is the our final brew house for this space. And so I don't want to buy a new brew house again. And so I want to make sure that this one fit everything that we needed to do.
Yeah,
for sure.
And you still have room to grow. We were walking back there. There's plenty of room for some tanks and stuff. I mean, like you said, it starts filling up quick. Even when you say 20,000 square feet, obviously a lot of it is front of house space, and then some event rooms and stuff. but do you feel comfortable here? Like it's a place that you can grow into for a long time?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And especially that was one of the big reasons behind the new system too. Besides just like saving a crazy amount of time on brewing, it really gives us the capacity for whatever we need.
Yeah.
And so we knew from the very beginning that we were going to use that space for brewing equipment and other stuff at some point. So it was already built out just like that already. And so we were basically ready for when the next step is, time, and we're ready for it.
Yeah.
Well, and to add on to that, we didn't just get it, because we wanted a nice shiny system. It made sense from like a labor perspective and so many different things. Instead of brewing 3 times to fill one 15-barrel fermenter, he's brewing like 1 time and then he can pick up the kids in the afternoon.
Sure.
It is. Oh, it is. Yeah, because we were brewing, like you were saying, 3 times to fill a tank. You're spending 20-something hours brewing. What ends up being a relatively small 15-barrel batch.
Yeah.
And with the new system, I can do it in 5.5.
Yeah.
And even while I'm brewing, I can do 3 hours of other stuff. That was part of why we also wanted some more automation on there. Was our brew house is like 200 feet away from our fermenters, and so I wanted to be able to basically walk away from it for a while, go do some other stuff, come back, and it saves a lot of time.
Yeah, and speaking of time, it saves like man hours. I'm sure that translates into I'm sure there's a formula there to figure out cost savings.
Yeah.
But did you see that? Like, okay, yes, we're spending this amount of money, but we're getting back this amount of time to be able to focus on other things. How has that improved your efficiency? I'm sure you loved it with your engineer brain.
Oh yeah. What it is they're just the amount of time that we're spending brewing, and just because a lot of it is just repetitive, especially brewing 3 times to fill a tank, you're just doing the same process 3 times. There's nothing special with it. It just takes a lot of time. And so, we knew that we wanted to have time to do other stuff. Like we wanted to be able to do some more barrel aging projects, or literally just have more capacity to, brew other things. If we were trying to fill 3 of our 15-barrel fermenters, it would take like a week and a half. Bring on the old system, I can do it in a couple of days if I want to on the new one, and that just frees up our time to do more small batch stuff, experimentals, everything.
Yeah, we still have a very small team in the back.
Yeah. Well, and that was the other part too. Is if we were going to continue with the other brew house, we would have had to hire on, at least another person or 2, just to make up for those inefficiencies.
Yeah,
and it didn't make sense.
This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency.
Well, let's take a break from the business talk. Let's talk a little bit about some of the beers. We got some of the beers here today, and I see a list of CBC collabs. Tell us what we're drinking, and then we'll kind of talk about what some of the things that you guys got to do for CBC.
Yep. So like the one I have, for example, is a German Pilsner partnership with Country Malt. So they're bringing in Durst Pilsner malt, or Durst malts just in general. And so there's a focus on that, along with have some new yeast that they're bringing in from Pinnacle. And it turned out great. I love it. You have Park Path, which is a collab with there's a handful of different companies. It's Prairie Malt, Hopsteiner, Deutsche, and Omega. And so that one is a focus on Prairie Malt, Hopsteiner hops, Omega yeast, and then Deutsche is just part of the partnership for it.
And then I have River Route, which is with Yakima Chief hops, and this one has Citra, Nectaron, and
Crush. All right.
Yep. Crush is real nice.
Yeah, it's delicious. I think people have been loving it so far.
Very cool. What when it comes to you guys are here as a host, so everyone wants to work with you probably. I mean, when did the phone calls start and start planning this? Was this Vegas last year? Where do you start this now? Right. But when to put out this many beers, it takes planning, it takes time.
Yep.
And are you calling people? Are they calling you? What do breweries have to plan for when CBC comes to town?
It started in July, I think, with the Park Path, with the one you're drinking, and getting that, because it's the beers we want to have on tap here, and then also facilitating getting them down to the expo. So 5 of these are going to be on the expo floor, which is really exciting for us. But yeah, so then what they
so it was. I think it was towards the end of last year where we were call it 5 months ago.
Mhm.
We kind of started having some of these conversations and with some of the initial ones, but then, really dialed in probably about 4 months ago because, for example, like the German Pilsner, I think it was one of the first ones we brewed. That's probably almost 12 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Just because you had to get some of those lagers in kind of early. I think we have 2 or 3 of those. And so, so really the ramp up time for CBC started like 3 months ago.
Sure.
And it's just been just a nonstop marathon since then.
It has. It's such a cool opportunity. We first went to CBC in Denver back in 2019, and I came back. Well, and we hadn't opened yet, but we were out there getting ideas, and we were just kind of new at all of it. And I came back and I was like, if we're gonna do this, and I do like our marketing and that kind of stuff, we have to go all in. And I put in my 2 weeks at my corporate job like the next day. It had that big of an impact on us. And then he was like 2 weeks later, after trying to brew and then go work 45 minutes away. Anyway, so it was like a jumping off point for us.
Yeah.
And so just to host it, it feels like kind of full circle to have it here. And Indy's such a cool, welcoming city. So I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised, I think, by what Indy has to offer. And we're doing our best to put our best foot forward.
You are. It seems like I know that even tonight it's Monday night, but before the start of CBC, and you guys are hosting the Craft Beer Professionals. I know you guys have your own house party. What else is going on that you guys have had to plan? I can't think of how you keep all this in track. I'm glad there's 4 of you around to be able to spread out some of the wealth.
Maybe our stress levels have been a little high, but trying to enjoy this week. So we did boats and brews. They're actually loading up in the parking lot right now, but we're right near the White River, and we partner with Frank's Livery, and so they'll do a boat run. Cool. It's about 3 hours on the water, and then they bring them back here. So that's today, and then the Craft Beer Professionals tonight. There's like Jasper East is having their private event in the coffee house tonight.
Nice.
And then we're just hosting like the Missouri Guilds and the Cicerone. Some people that just want spots to gather because we have a lot of space. So
I'm going to be here a lot.
Please come. Yeah, the house party on Wednesday. We're featuring like our brewery collabs that we did with other breweries. So like Phase 3 with Buck Creek Distributing. We went to Phase 3 and brewed a Goza with them. So that'll all be featured on Wednesday night too.
Very cool. Yeah. So that'll be some fun stuff. How is it just as an Indianapolis being the market? Like you kind of all work together. I know they usually do a collaboration beer. They just want people to be able to see Indianapolis. I know I talked to Clay at Sun King, and he said this is 14, 16 years in the making. Like that's how long since they opened, they wanted this to come here. And I think a lot of people overlook Indianapolis, but then, he starts rattling off. We host the NCAA tournaments. We have the Super Bowl here. We've had, the Indy 500, obviously. It is such a easy spot to get to for a lot of people that they don't think. They think, East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, and like Indianapolis is one of those markets that can host something like 100%. This. You want to get in that rotation now.
And we want everyone to have an awesome experience when they come here. But Indy can put on a show. I mean, our Visit Indy, like the center, the people behind promoting the city, they know how to host. Yeah. And so I'm just excited to kind of experience it as a resident, as a brewer, and then as an attendee as well. Yeah,
that reminds me. I downloaded the app, so I got to check in.
There you go.
Is there a freebie? I got a free koozie on my first check.
For the
what is it?
The Craft Pass.
Craft Pass for Indy.
There is a discount here, I think, on flights. I believe.
So that it's cool. Like, do you just going into kind of using that, like working with the city to build something like that? Do you see more beer tourism coming from it? I mean, do you see the benefits of being able to have people come in and be able to enjoy it this way? There's still beer tourism out there.
We'll see. I'll be interested to see how it is this week too. Yeah. Which I don't even think we're going to do flights this week because it's just kind of going to be insane. But I think so. I think it's like more of a trickle, throughout the year versus a swarm all at once. They launched that a couple of years ago. So I think they're constantly trying to do refreshes to it as well. Yeah.
But we have it in Toledo, and it definitely, I think it gets people just to be like, oh, there's, whatever amount now in a brewery is 46 or something that they have on that. It's just, it gets your name out somewhere that someone might not have even thought about it. Yeah. And gets them here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit more about, what we got going on here with your brewery and, kind of the like you said, the challenges here of taking over an old building. Walk us through that, because like you said, most of this building, it wasn't this building. But it's cool that you guys were able to restore and preserve some of it to be able to do what made you want to do that in the first place.
This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency.
I mean, when we first came here, I mean, it was a really cool building.
Yeah.
So we came in and, despite it being like moss over the ground, there was a skylight that had caved in, the roof collapsed, all this stuff. It was, a mess, but we had the vision for the space. So this building is the basically original footprint that the original building was. We just had to basically rebuild almost all of it because it was such bad shape.
Yeah.
But we did fall in love with the old architecture that was here, and it just felt right.
It felt right. Yeah, it's like our vision was there, and especially bringing in, this racing shop and being able, like, the black and white photos pair wonderfully with like our wood kind of German Colorado inspired tap room. It all just fit really well, and we, people can host birthday parties in here, especially like people that are race fans in May, to be able to come in here and see this kind of gem. I think, a few miles from the racetrack is pretty special too.
Yeah. Speaking, I mean, you're right near the Speedway. What is race week like here?
Yeah, it's just busier.
Yeah.
We do a porch party on the weekend or on the Thursday, like kickoff to race, where it's just live music, and we always do a hot day in May fruited American IPA that goes over really well, and it just kind of adds to the excitement of that week. So we have like a 1934 Diamond T race car hauler that's been restored right behind us over there, and a Maserati used to sit in it, but the owner took the Maserati back. But it is cool thinking like that truck used to actually take Wilburshaw's trucks to the racetrack and back. So pretty special.
Yeah, that is pretty neat. You mentioned the beers. We haven't really talked other than the collabs and stuff. What is your brewing style? What do are you guys? I know you have a huge tap list, but like if you wanted to force everyone to drink your favorite beers, what is your brewing style that you would love to just have on tap all the time, whether or not it's sold or not?
Sure. I mean, the funny thing is, like, we thankfully, all of our fans and people that come here, like, they also happen to love the same stuff that we love. So it worked out really good. Like our Wilbur Prize Pilsner, probably my favorite beer to drink on a regular basis. And, I think a lot of people enjoy it too. But then we also, like, I'm a hop head. So I love hazies and stuff. And I also really enjoy these kind of stouts that we do. And so, all of our core beers that we have now, besides our Hellas, we actually developed even before we opened. And so, when we came out of the gate, we had, I think it was 5 or 6 beers, 6, and they're all still around. Minus we just opened up the brown ale that is now
that we still love.
But it's more like a seasonal one.
We replaced it with Munich Super.
Nice.
Yeah. But no, we really put a ton of time into developing even just our core beers before we opened, and I think for us it really paid off because I think we were open for like 2 months, and we had entered beers into the Indianapolis Cup, and we got 3 gold medals like our first year. Like it was.
Yeah, and everybody. I mean, I remember that. Everybody was like, "Who are you?"
That's a good feeling, right?
It is. Oh yeah.
It
It is.
After so much like stress of opening a business to have that reassurance.
Yeah. Well,
6 weeks in.
Yeah, I mean, it's validating because me and Ryan, we brewed in his basement for 2-3 years before we opened, and it was a couple batches a week, just perfecting these recipes over and over again. And we saw it pay off.
That's awesome.
It was really cool.
Also, like to the beer list, I think we do have something for everybody. So it's not just hazies or German beers. It's kind of all of them, and then we have a lot of sours too. So I met someone the other day and she's like, I don't like beer, but I love your sours. And I'm like, well, that's why we have those. 'Cause it's the perfect non-beer lover drink.
Yeah, I think it's the one difference, I guess, that we make is that, we enjoy all the beers that we make. We're not making a beer just because that's what people want to drink when they come here. We're making because we enjoy all these. If we truly didn't like a certain style that we were making, we just wouldn't make it.
Right.
I think we have enough of a variety of other stuff that we'd be fine without brewing something that we wouldn't like.
Yeah.
Well, that's where the passion comes in.
It is,
too,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
We're going to, brew what we're passionate about, but also listen to what our customers want. It's kind of that balance.
Sure. Well, cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah. I'm going to ask this question, and I already know the answer because I feel like I was going to say, what's new coming up on the horizon for you guys? But you've done so much in the past year, and you had to plan for CBC for the past 3 months. Do you guys have something on the horizon that you want to? And I know you've talked about maybe more taproom locations. Is it in Indianapolis? Are you looking, southern, northern? I mean, what's the growth pattern for you guys if there is that type of thing outside of the Indianapolis area?
So this year we're focused on like what we have and making it
Sure.
best it can be. So beyond this year, we'll take a look at some other taproom options when we feel like we're in a good spot to do so. We're trying to expand distribution around the city as well, just in other bars and restaurants, which is a hard kind of game to play, but it's good for brand awareness too.
Yeah.
But I'd say on the like kind of far horizon would be another taproom or two, and then just really like making this the best it can be.
Yeah. We didn't really talk about distribution. It is, like you said, it's brand awareness nowadays. It's you want to be out there, but at the same time, you make more money here. Where's that balance to be able to like? Do you have we can only sell this much out there because we want to be able to have people in here? I mean, do you have numbers on that and thought processes?
Yeah, so we have about 30 to 40 like accounts that order regularly right now. And so with the new system, we're able to just kind of add those kegs are kind of there and need to get out anyways. So it's right now, it's not like super extra planning for distro. No, we'd like to kind of get to that point.
Yep. It creates a nice flow with the amount of accounts we have now. The beer stays really fresh. We brew on a nice kind of pace, all that kind of stuff. I think once you get past where we're at now, then it becomes bigger decisions because then suddenly you need more cooperage. So you're spending, $5,000-$6,000 on a couple pallets of kegs. Well, how long does it take to get a return on that? And there's a lot of these smaller decisions. Well, they're big decisions, but it's a lot of these different steps that you have to consider as we're kind of moving forward. Like how big do we really want to get? Because there's a lot. Basically, it costs money to also grow, and so it's those are kind of some of the decisions that we're having to look at right now.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you've had a lot going on, so it's almost time. Take a breath. Enjoy yourself this week, please.
Yeah.
Like, don't stress out. This is supposed to be fun. You're going to get to meet so many cool people. People will be coming in all week. I think that this is the best part about it. It's the networking after the fact, and yes, there's stuff you have to learn and stuff you need to know and stuff people are going to be buying, but it's about this right here, sitting around having a beer.
We're really excited for that part. It's like we worked really hard up to this point, so we have an amazing team that's going to handle this tap room, and we'll be around most of the week too. So brewery tours, hanging out in the back, hanging out in the front.
Yeah. Well, cool. I always like ending things off with some fun questions since we talked business and all this. Let's get to know you guys just a little bit and maybe talk about like what's the biggest mistake you ever made in the brew house that you can. Yeah, you're laughing already, so that's good because there are mistakes that you're oh shit, but. What did you do that you're like, okay, that was funny, but I'm never doing that again?
Some of them, it takes time to for the feelings on some of these to settle down over time.
Right.
Probably the worst one was, so we were brewing down the basement. We had no floor drains down there. And at one point we were kind of rushing around and someone's knee clipped the mash tun manway. And we ended up with like 80 gallons of basically like porridge that poured out over the entire basement floor. No drains to go to, nothing. And I'm pretty sure I followed that up with, I was trying to keg off a beer and I just completely drenched myself in beer as I was kegging it, and I just had to stop. I had to go home. I took a shower.
I remember that.
I came back, kept back at it because there was really no other choice. But man, it was not a great time. I'm sure everyone's had some stuff like that.
When we moved out of that basement, I mean, talk about claustrophobia. The amount of hours that were spent in such a tiny space.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah. Well, it's it was a small space, and we're still moving around a lot. So I would be walking miles up and down these stairs, and inside a 100 square foot room.
Yeah, they were milling on the top.
Oh wow.
And then taking it down.
It's all the stuff that we did because we need to. It was fun time. Not stuff I would do again.
Now you can enjoy a nice coffee.
Exactly.
Yes. Now, what was the cleanup like then when you opened the manway? I mean, was it just shovels?
Yeah, it was shovels, scooping, a lot of mopping. It was not a great way to start a brew day.
Wow.
So,
But you know what? Sometimes, and I'm a home brewer, the mistakes. Now that mistake you can't recover from. It's on the floor.
Yep.
But like, isn't it fun? Like when you accidentally made something as a home brewer, and screwed something up, and you're like, oh, that actually came out. I'm never going to be able to make it that way again because I don't want to do that. But do you have those ever in the brew house now? Like, you feel like got your CIP, your SOPs?
Honestly, all that stuff is good now. I mean, I think there are some things you learn over time. Like I think like one time our glycol chiller went down like in the house, and so we had whatever. I think it was our Hafa. Maybe that was fermenting, and it so got to ferment like a little warmer than we normally did, and like we were like, actually, we like that a lot better than it used to be. And so it's like random stuff like that, of course, happens over time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, like our hot day in May beer I talked about for the race, it started out as a milkshake. We do milkshakes too, but we just haven't done one for a long time.
Yeah.
But it just didn't turn out like hazy at all for whatever reason. The fruit
I think it's the strawberry in it. I think it's like strawberry papaya. One of those two can actually like flocculate out everything sometimes, and so
it turned into to be like a fruited American, and that's what we've made going forward.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
Happy accidents.
Yeah. So a lot of little stuff like that.
Cool. Well, we kind of touched on it, but you have a twin sister, Abby, and you guys all, along with Ryan, the four of you work this place. But I have a mother-in-law that's a twin. I actually, my previous fiance's mom was a twin. My ex-fiance ended up having twins. So I've been around twins. And no one believes twin stories until you actually live it. Now, you can listen, but what's going on with twins? Why, like, you guys have such a connection. Do you feel that as well?
We have a connection, yes.
Yeah.
Like we call each other at the same time, or we start to, and then we pick up. I mean, we just have kind of done everything together in life, aside from when she got her master's in St. Louis and we were in Germany. Like there was a period of a couple of years where we were not in the same city or 2 streets apart. Yeah, it's there. I'm looking for it. She's wearing the same shirt as I am. I actually bought this shirt yesterday at Old Navy, and she'd already been in there. And the lady was like, "Were you in here earlier?"
Oh wow!
And I was like, "That was my twin." And she's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I don't know that I got a like true story for you off the top of my head, but the twin thing is real.
It's real.
It's actually it's fun.
Yeah.
We do life together. We each have three kids that are best friends.
That's really cool. Did you know she was like? Is that the first date conversation? Like, by the way, I have a twin.
He met Abby first because we all went to Butler here in Indianapolis. That's how we ended up here too. So they met in like a freshman orientation. I don't know if you knew we were twins at that point.
No, I didn't. No, I had no idea.
So you probably said hi. That would happen all the time. It still happens. I'll see people out and they'll be like, and I'll have no idea who they are, and they'll be super friendly. So I'm friendly back. And so that literally happens all the time. It happened at Aldi not too long ago. It happened over the weekend somewhere. But then we just kind of introduce ourselves. And, there's always the connection because they know her. So
yeah, that's pretty neat. All right, let's wrap it up here. We've talked a lot about beer. Let's end it with beer. What's a trend that you think is going to stick around? There's been a lot over the last 15 years, and some have come and gone. I brewed IPA. But what do you think is actually something that is happening right now, rising, or has already been out there for a while that it's going to be craft beer for forever now?
Yeah, I mean, I think besides like hazes, I think hazes are going to stick around. Like one of the newer things is more kind of like these dry hopped, kind of like West Coast pilsners. Let's just say lagers in general, but especially ones that focus on more of the hops and stuff that kind of bridge that gap. Like we love making those. We made so many of them since last year just because we've enjoyed them so much.
Yeah,
I think that'd be hopefully it stays around. And I think it will.
Follow up to that because it's talking about West Coast. Do you feel West Coast has changed in the philosophy of how a West Coast is made? Because I feel like 20 years ago, a West Coast IPA is not a West Coast IPA now. Do you think that's good or bad?
Oh, I mean, it is very different, and it's so hard here to call something West Coast because people here may not have been exposed or not be exposed to the current West Coast, whereas that lighter, crisper, more fruity, kind of hop forward ones, whereas they're thinking it's going to be this kind of like dank, resinous, heavy ones. And so it's really hard to call something West Coast here.
That's why we call them a lot of times just a dry hop pilsner. Yeah. You don't really have to like shove it into a category.
Yeah.
It's more the experiment on like the hops and the profiles that those bring out and being able to put that into like a lager.
Yep. And the same thing for if we're making more like I guess like a newer style, like West Coast IPA or something. We'll generally just call it an American IPA. That way, it's a little more of a broad category, so that people don't come in thinking it's going to be this bitterness bomb that they were some years ago.
Sure.
So that's kind of how we've had to approach it.
Well, awesome. Well, guys, I appreciate you taking the time to talk. I know it's going to be a busy week again. Let's relax, have some fun. You guys have made it. CBC is here, so enjoy. And
Cheers.
Courtney, Derek,
Thanks
cheers.
for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency.